Hi, this is the old guy. This is the CVE10 with the EF 24-105 adapted with the 7 Artisan adapter. And as you see here, it tracks me pretty well in this studio environment. It's a full frame lens on a APS-C body, but this adapter takes APS-C lenses too, but it's the widest old EF glass I got, and my studio is not that big, so I have to use it. Judging from the screen, this lens tracks me pretty good with this camera body. It might be better on the new AI chips, Sony cameras, but I don't know because I don't have any of these. But when you fill a too small portion of the screen, sometimes the autofocus will struggle a bit. But here's the trick, because I've heard a lot of problems with IBIS third-party EF glass. And I think I managed to find a solution for that. Because it's a firmware problem, and you actually can find newer firmware or modified firmwares other places than on the official 7 Artisan page. But I'll link both to the Artisan official firmware updates and independent GitHub that should work better on the IBIS side of the case. I've had no problems with the IBIS since I've used this firmware update. The official page from 7 Artisans only go up to 17 firmware, but I'll link to another guy who has made newer firmware updates up to 21. I'll leave direct links in the description, but I'll also leave a link for my Dropbox with all the official firmwares and the newest from the guy who makes tweaks to these official firmwares on the GitHub page, and solve a lot of the problems I hear about the IBIS and other hiccups on especially Tamron lenses. I own 3 adapters for EF glass to Sony E-mount, and the first one is Sigma. But while this adapter works perfect for photos, it only works for video autofocus with art lenses from EF. It doesn't have a tripod mount either. The 2 others I own got this. My second adapter is this Fusion one with a built-in variable ND filter. This adapter doesn't support autofocus, but carry data from the lens, and you can adjust aperture. And this one I would recommend if you own EF glass that doesn't support filters, like this lens, with a bulbous front element. And especially for these wide-angle lenses, the autofocus is not that important. And the last adapter I own is the adapter used in the entire video, the 7 Artisans, the one I would recommend. You don't need a lens stock to update firmware on this 7 Artisan adapter either. You can do it with a cable, and I'll show you here how you do it. There's this little micro USB inside the lens mount, and then you put the other end in one of the USB-C ports of your computer. The adapter shows up as a device, and you just put one of the firmware updates directly onto the root of the drive. And as I mentioned, I got a Dropbox link with the firmware updates and direct links in the description. But it's this easy. And these are the EF lenses I own and shot in this video, with the first being the Sigma 50mm EX and the second being the Canon 60mm EFS that I accidentally shot in full frame mode, the Samyang 12mm EX. Then I have the old drain pipe, a legendary lens that exceeded my expectations in autofocus performance. And again the Canon 24-105L. I don't have any Tamron lenses to test. Let's just jump into my garden and test all the lenses on my A7 IV. I've started the tracking with this lens. It's a Canon 24-105, the old DSLRs. And we'll see if it works with this adapter from 7 Artisans. I don't know, I've updated the firmware, and I think if you just stand here and talking and not making too many moves and are filling out a lot of the frame, it'll work pretty good. And now this is APS-C lens, the 60mm macro lens, also with a USM motor. That's kind of the fastest old EF glass I have, and now we see how that works. I'm using tracking because I experienced that tracking is a little bit better than face recognition. I would use tracking instead of face recognition on these adapted lenses, but it's up to you. And this is the old drain pipe 80 to 200 millimeters, and this is a very old lens with a very noisy and sluggish autofocus, but maybe it'll be good enough for this. We'll see. I'll walk a little backwards, a little to the side, and see if it catches me. I don't know. Who knows? I don't. It's a very old lens. This is the Sigma 50mm HSM, the EX version. It tracks my face now, but I don't know if it's good enough. We'll try with tap to focus here and see if that works. It catches my eye now. That's actually pretty good, but I don't know if that's good. It's known for a notorious bad autofocus, even on the old DSLRs. But I don't know how it works here, but we'll see. And here is the comparison where I'm shooting with my normal setup, the Sigma 16mm f1.4. And with this setup and this lighting, which is the same as before, I can do ISO 200, where I had to do ISO 800 on my adapted Canon EF because it was only an f4. On top of that, this is a wider shot. I think it looks nicer in my little studio. But if you only had the budget to buy this CVE10 and didn't have the budget for new lenses and didn't have the time to sell your old EF and buy new glass, this is a viable option. But I'm using this mic on top of my CVE10 here in the studio. And if the autofocus on the EF glass is a little bit noisy, you might be able to pick it up. I haven't processed the sound at all. Not here in the studio and not outside with these DJI Mic Minis. But for these talking head shots and the garden shots where I don't move around too much, I actually don't see any problems. Besides from the slow studio lens and the autofocus sound. In scenarios where you want to make a YouTube video like this, I think both autofocus in tap to track and eye and face autofocus work just fine. And as a single creator, you can now get the character of old EF lenses and autofocus. Bye from the old guy.